This is the FIRS chairman, Mr. Dedeji. He's moving around in a 4-car convoy. Why is that? There's someone taking his photo. Why is that person taking his photo? This guy is not a politician. He's not elected. He was just appointed by a politician, but why is he behaving like a politician? Why does he need to move around in a car that is worth more than $200,000, including all the other supporting vehicles, the escort vehicle, the one behind, and the other one behind? So why all these extravaganza? Why all these waste of money? You tell people to pay tax and you waste it this way. Another fraud that is involved in all these tax collections is when they say tax collection fee. What does that mean? What exactly is the tax collection fee? Why does it need to run into billions of naira? It does not make any sense. Their salaries and emoluments, are they part of the collection fee? They are paid to do this already. Most of them are civil servants that are paid by the federal government. So why should there be a collection fee on top of all that? Or is the collection fee another name for the percentage they are paid for collecting the taxes? Why should they be paid a percentage for collecting taxes? They already paid salaries. In fact, this is a federal government agency. That's the FIRS. So why all these unnecessary waste of money? They need to be transparent. Just like the customs, they are already paid to collect taxes. All goods crossing the border, whether at the seaport, airport, everywhere, their job is to collect duties and remit to the federal government. So why should there be a collection fee again? It doesn't make any sense. Why should the government be paying a certain percentage to the customs for collecting the duties? They are already paid salaries for doing that. Or like already said, the collection fee, is it part of the salaries of the customs officers? They need to be transparent, because when you are paid to do this, there's nothing like asking for another percentage on top of that. If they want to go this way, the federal government should stop paying these people salaries. In fact, they should privatize customs. Let it be a private organization. Let them collect taxes on behalf of the federal government. The federal government should not have any business paying these people salaries again. Their payroll should not come under the federal government. This time, starting from 2026, everyone will start paying taxes. So people will start paying more attention to how these politicians spend their money. How all unelected people that are supposed to be civil servants are wasting taxpayers' money. Yes, because you don't expect people who suffer, they toil and toil every day. At the end of the day, they're expected to give the government a cut of up to 25% of their yearly earnings. And they go around and flaunt it to their faces and waste all the money for no reason. This FIRS guy, there's no reason he shouldn't drive himself. He's fit, he's still a young man. Why shouldn't he drive himself in one car? Why shouldn't he move around in one car? Yes, if anything happens to him, if he's facing a security threat, he is not different from an ordinary Nigerian who is facing the same thing. The fact that he's the FIRS chairman, he should not be moving around in a 4-car convoy. It does not make sense, no matter how you want to stretch it. They're always emulating what is happening in foreign countries, but they never deliver the same type of service in this country. They are now taxing us progressively, up to 25% per annum, the same way they are taxing people in many foreign Western countries. But are the services delivered in these countries the same in Nigeria? Absolutely not. Tax is like an investment you have to put in first before demanding and expecting to earn. If you ask many Nigerians today what they have gained from the Nigerian government, most of them will struggle to tell you what they have gained. Especially under this administration that came and started increasing everything, increasing cost of living, increasing school fees, increasing virtually everything you can think of. And on top of that, they have now increased taxes. So despite the fact that they have devalued your naira, your savings, they have trashed your savings. If you had 1 million naira before they came to power, that 1 million naira is not up to 300,000 naira today. Yes, that's the reality. So despite all this, they still want to tax you up to 25%, depending how much you're earning. So they need to be more prudent and judicious while spending the taxpayers' money. From 2027 going forward, of course, you will see they will use it as campaign. They will tell you, look at the IGR in Nigeria before we came to power, compare with what we have today. Next year, January, people are going to start paying tax. Of course, you know how tax works. 2026 is the year the law will take effect. So you're expected to file your taxes starting from January 2027. By that time, every expenditure you made in 2026, of course, you have to keep records so as to deduct it. The expenditure you make that contributes to that money, that income you make. You don't just sit around and make income. Many people spend money, they buy diesel, they buy this, they buy that to support that their earnings. So at the end of the day, if you don't keep all the receipts of your expenditure, you will not be able to enjoy that deductibles that you would deduct before they will now start calculating from the rest. Yes, so starting from January, any expenditure you make, of course not all expenditures qualify, but any one you make that you feel that it contributes to your business, it contributes to that income you make, you have to keep the record. If you keep that record, at the end of the day when you want to file your taxes, you will now present the records to them so that the deductible can be made and you will pay from the rest. Following the other video where Carlo Aja explained many things about the tax that is taken off in 2026, many people have a lot of questions. The most common one comes from those living abroad. They are asking whether they will pay tax on their deposits. There are many people in the diaspora who send money monthly to their Nigerian account. The fact that you are not living in Nigeria, this tax is aimed at people living and working in Nigeria. Once you're living in Nigeria, even if you are working for a foreign company, but you're living in Nigeria, so you have to pay tax in Nigeria. But if you are living abroad, you are not living in Nigeria. You are living abroad, you are working abroad, and you're only sending part of your salary to a Nigerian account. You do not have to pay tax. After all, there is no income in Nigeria for you. Yes, the income happened in America, in Canada, in any Western country that you live in. So continue the deposit, but don't deposit in another person's account. If you do that, the person will need to start explaining that this is not his money, this, that. You know, they're after money. They don't care. Like many experts have said, it's not clear who will pay tax in Nigeria. Because when you send money to a 10-year-old, maybe your daughter who is still in school, they are saying the 10-year-old should pay tax. It's not supposed to happen. A 10-year-old doesn't work. A 10-year-old is still living under the parents or guardian. So they still have a lot to explain to Nigerians. Who is qualified to pay tax? Is it starting from the age of 16 or anyone that works? Because income must be tied to value that was provided. If someone was given a gift, maybe someone living abroad, sends money to his parents for upkeep, aged parents that have a lot of health needs, the person sends money on a monthly basis for their upkeep, they are not supposed to tax that. Especially elderly people that have passed retirement age, someone that is up to 70 years. Official retirement age is about, is it 60 or 65? The judiciary arm, they raised their retirement age to 70 recently. So anyone that is above 70, should that person continue paying tax? They need to specify all this so that anyone above 70 that their children continue to send money for upkeep should not be bothered about explaining to the taxman whether this was income or what. Someone that is no longer working. If you don't give value, you cannot call that an income. An income should be tied to value that was given in return before that money was earned. So they still have a lot to explain to Nigerians. Maybe they are intentionally leaving everything vague so as to prey and rip off Nigerians, because everything to them is about revenue. They want to brag that they are generating more revenue, but what are they doing with that revenue? They cannot point to what they are doing with it. Where they waste all the money is this kind of lifestyle. Moving around in convoys, buying flashy vehicles to brag in front of colleagues that, hey, I'm now this, I'm now that, you can see. This is pure waste. It does not add any value to Nigerians. The average taxpayer needs to be able to buy a new car and drive that car in a smooth, tarred road. Not when you buy a car, you drive on unmotorable roads, muddy roads that will damage all your shock absorbers in under a few months, and you're expected to go and repair and fix these. It doesn't make any sense that they are not giving anything in return and demanding these huge taxes from Nigerians. So if you're Nigerian living abroad and you're bothered about sending money, whether they will tax that money, no. They are not going to tax the money that comes into your account. You're only required to pay the normal fees for the transaction. Even in your bank in the US or any foreign country, you pay that fee for the transfer. And when it lands in your Nigerian account, the bank also takes a small fee, and that should be it. If you're saving that money for a project in Nigeria, maybe you want to build a home or a rental property, when you finish the construction and you rent the apartments out, that's when you start paying tax, because you've started to earn revenue from the property. Yes. Also, remember that you have to keep records of all expenditure you make, like fixing many things in the home, calling an artisan to do a small job, all repairs you make in the building, you have to keep the records because they are deductibles. When it's time to file for tax, you have to present these records to them so that they will be deducted before they will now calculate based on the rest. Why you have to pay tax this time is because the rental property you have in Nigeria generates revenue for you. So since it's generated in Nigeria, you have to pay tax. That's why the fact that you are not living in Nigeria. So these are the differences. Also, when you want to send money to your parents and siblings, upkeep money, make sure you label them perfectly. Yes, something like this money for dad, for his hospital bills, this money for mom, for food for the month. So if you label them correctly, and when they print out the bank statement, the taxman will see that these are gifts, that it wasn't an income, that is not tied to any service they delivered. After all, your parents took care of you, they paid for your education. Now that you're working, you're earning money, it's your turn to take care of them. That's how it works in Nigeria and Africa. Now, the major adverse effect of this new tax law is that many people will stop banking, because the only way they can find out how much you earned is by seeing your bank statement. And if you conduct all your affairs using cash, no one will be able to track anything. The only thing they can do is when they don't see anything in your account, they will now maybe say, okay, you pay this or you pay that. Or maybe they will say, okay, since you're under the 800,000 naira yearly earning, you will not pay any tax. That will obviously negate all the efforts made by past administrations. If you look at all their policies, they were targeting people who are not banked to force them to start banking formally. Back in the day, most people in the informal sector didn't have bank accounts. They conducted their business affairs using cash. And following this new tax law, it will push more people to abandon their bank accounts, to start conducting their businesses with cash. Yes. So all the progress made in the past have been thrown away by this administration. They keep on copying everything they do in Western countries, but they fail to deliver the same level of service. How can you wake up and start taxing Nigerians 25%? It does not make any sense when you compare the earnings of Nigerians. When you look at the 800,000 limit they said, that is the limit. If you pass that limit in a year, that means you will start paying tax. How much is 800,000 naira in dollars? It's less than $600. Compare that to most Western countries, even China, where the threshold is up to $10,000. So they just copy everything they want instead of starting small, like maybe 5%. Many people wouldn't even bother looking for ways to evade the tax because 5% is small. They will just set a target, say maybe in 5 years' time they are going to increase it up to 10%. Just like the fuel subsidy removal, they would have started small, reducing the subsidy by maybe 20%. Instead of the move from 200 naira per liter, fuel was sold before they came to power to 1,000 naira, the increase would have been maybe around 300 or 350 naira per liter. That's an additional 150 naira. They would have set a target, maybe we'll have a target of 5 years, we'll sell 350 for 2 years, in the third year we increase to 500 until they remove the subsidy completely. The impact on Nigeria's economy wouldn't have been this heavy. Yes, but because they are in a hurry to show workings, to impress the people they are working for, despite all they are doing, despite removal of subsidy 100%, they have borrowed more than Muhammad Buhari borrowed in 8 years, despite the fact that Buhari paid subsidy throughout his 8 years. So it does not make any sense. Whatever they are doing, they must make sure they improve on transparency. They must spend the money judiciously. They must spend the money as if it's their personal money. The way someone spends his personal money that is suffered to make, that's exactly the way they are supposed to be spending Nigerian people's money. You don't force people to pay by the nose and end up squandering and wasting the money. It doesn't make any sense. Thanks for watching.